guitar Trigger because he's kind of my horse, you know. Roy Rogers had a horse called Trigger, so.
Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson are two giants whose names will forever be etched in country music history. They were not performers only, they were narrators as well, and trendsetters who transformed country music in so many ways. They had been friends for decades, remembering memories of unparalleled duets, individual tribulations, and an irreparable bond that prevailed through the passage of time. Now, Willie Nelson finally speaks about his relationship with Johnny Cash, remembering stories that we never knew about for so long. What did Willie Nelson reveal? And what impact is this going to make in history? Join us as we uncover the touching story. Willie Nelson's Reflections at 91. At 91 years old, Willie Nelson has seen it all. From a life filled with music, success, and hardship to unforgettable friendships. But amidst it all, one name has always lingered in his mind. And that is Johnny Cash. The man with the unmistakable deep voice, the outlaw, the poet, the fighter. Their journey together lasted for decades, building its presence from the dimly lit bars of Nashville to the grandest stages in the world, and even at tables where it was just both of them discussing. And even though Johnny left this world over 20 years ago, Willie still feels his presence in every note that he plays. Long before Willie met Johnny in person, times before the duets and the late-night talks, Willie's first encounter with Johnny Cash was through the radio. According to Johnny Cash, he met Willie around 1956 at a disc jockeys convention in Nashville. Songwriters came there to meet artists who might record their songs. Johnny recalled that he had always been impressed with him as a musician, but what stuck with him was his writing. It was during the 1950s when Willie was still working as a disc jockey at KVAN, a radio station in Vancouver, Washington. Back then, he wasn't the legendary outlaw country singer we all know today. He was just a young man with big dreams for his voice to reach people all over the world. While holding on to those dreams, he kept loving music, spinning records, and playing songs on air. But what happens next will leave you shocked. According to Willie, he put on a record a certain day and heard something he hadn't heard before. It was a deep, haunting voice that filled the air, accompanied by a steady rhythm that draws your heart in. That voice was Johnny Cash. The song was raw, right from the heart, and unlike anything else that played on the radio at the time. Willie was captivated by how wasn't just listening to the music because he was feeling it. There was just something about Johnny's delivery and the way he sang like he had lived every word, resonated deeply with Willie. Years after the radio encounter, Willie finally met Johnny. Willie would often tell Johnny how much that moment stuck with him, and Johnny, ever humble, would laugh it off, saying he was just a man with a guitar trying to narrate what he believed to be the truth. But to Willie, it meant much more than that. He was a pioneer, a fearless artist who decided to stand out and not follow the usual of the music industry. Johnny's life before stardom and even after stardom wasn't an easy one. There were moments in his career when it seemed like the whole world was closing in on him. He faced struggles other artists in the industry had succumbed to, battling addictions, personal struggles, and the constant pressure from everywhere. There were also times when the weight of his past and the expectations of his future threatened to stop him. Yet he didn't give up. Willie Nelson always believed that music is a reflection of a person's life itself. If that is true, then Johnny Cash's music tells the story of a fighter. Willie vividly remembers those dark times. He had seen Johnny at his lowest, struggling with addiction and self-doubt. Yet he also saw something remarkable. He saw resilience. No matter how hard Johnny hit the ground, he always pushed himself back up. Through his years of reaching stardom, he fought for his music, his family, and even his faith. He also fought against the industry that tried to box him into a mold. Refusing to be anything, but his true self. Even when Nashville turned its back on him, when radio stations stopped playing his records because they thought his time had passed, Johnny kept going. He reinvented himself, proving that real artistry isn't about trends or commercial success, but it's about the heart. And that was what Willie admired most about him. Not the fame, not the hits, but his spirit. Willie and Johnny became more than just collaborators. They became more of brothers in music. Their friendship surpassed industry politics or temporary success. It was a true friendship, one rooted in a deep understanding of who each person truly was. They shared stages, songs, and memories, laughing together, crying together, and supporting each other through the hardest times. One of Willie's favorite memories with Johnny is from their time in the Highwaymen. Johnny, Waylon Jennings, and Chris Christopherson were part of the band. It was like being in a band of outlaws. This is because their music was deemed as different. They weren't making music like other artists in the industry then. They told stories and represented the free spirits that didn't quite fit into the polished world of mainstream country music. Even long after the Highwaymen had faded into history, when gray hairs were beginning to creep in, Willie and Johnny continued to stay in touch. Their conversations evolved from being just about music, but became more of talking about life and reflecting together. They reflected on how far they had come, from those early days in Nashville to becoming icons of American music. But even legends don't live forever. What happened next will leave you in tears. Goodbyes of a hero and legacy. In September 2003, Johnny Cash said goodbye. For the world, they lost a music icon, Johnny Cash, but for Willie, he lost that and more. He lost a dear brother and friend too. It was a loss that hit hard, such that it still lingers after all these years. Willie remembers getting the news. The news of Johnny's death was an unexpected one, even though Johnny had been battling illness for some time. But that didn't make it any easier to handle. Losing Johnny felt like losing a piece of himself. The world truly mourned Johnny. Tributes poured in from every part of the world. Artists who had been influenced by Johnny, from rock musicians to country stars, shared their grief also. It was deeply personal for Willie. Johnny to him wasn't just a fellow musician, he had been a constant presence in his life for decades and understood him in a way few people did. Now at 91, Willie Nelson still stands on stage with his guitar, playing the songs that defined a generation. And every time he strums those chords, he feels Johnny's presence. In interviews, when asked about Johnny, Willie always smiles. There's sadness in his voice when he talks about Johnny, but also a certain pride that shows how much he esteemed him. Johnny Cash lives on in the music, in the stories, and in the memories they shared. Willie's school of thought about legacy is that it isn't just about what you leave behind, but it's about how you lived. And to him and everyone else who knew Johnny, Johnny lived fully. Although he made mistakes, he never stopped trying to be better. He inspired millions with every word that laced his songs, and even through the grit that characterized his person. Even today, new generations are getting to know who Johnny Cash is, and becoming fans of the artists they didn't get to see during his lifetime. Young artists cite him as an influence. Old fans continue to play his records, and his songs still carry the same power as they did decades ago. To Willie, these things are proof that real music never dies. The themes of Johnny's music, struggles, redemption, love, pain, still resonate. Because no matter how much the world changes, human emotions will still be the same. As Willie Nelson reflects on his life, he knows that not all friendships are meant to last forever. Truly, people come and go, time moves on, and even the brightest stars eventually fade. But some bonds are too strong to be broken, even by death. To understand why they had such an unbreakable bond and what impact it made, let's look at how it all started and how they sojourned on the roads of the music industry. The music, the roads, and the brotherhood. By the time Willie got to meet Johnny face to face, Johnny was just a little bit of a star in everyone's eyes. Instead of feeling threatened, what Willie thought about was how honest Johnny was with himself. He was not like many other artists in having to put on an act. That realness is what made Willie feel that instant connection. Such were the immediate sparks that flew between them. For Willie, it was a glorious time when he discovered that Johnny never watered down his problems, for his music expressed his pain along with his redemptive qualities. Willie saw in him an important friend because he was like Johnny. The first issue that evolved on their friendship was music, but soon others would join on topics such as life, faith, regrets, and dreams. How things turned out from here will leave you shocked. Both had tasted the bitter fruit of fame, the pressure, the unreasonable expectations, the lonely miles away from home, so their friendship was based on both professional respect and profound personal understanding. And through it all, they had each other. After decades of collaboration, millions of miles on the road, and innumerable legendary performances, Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash molded such different worlds. The world saw their friendship beyond private moments. The relationship they shared played out on some of the world's biggest stages, in the recording studios where they created timeless music, and on the long nights on the road where they dreamed about the future of country music. The best part of this friendship was, of course, the ability of Willie and Johnny to blend their voices very nicely into each other's vocal cords. Their collaborations were never contrived. It sounded naturally in harmony, resonating throughout the world. The first of many efforts was in 1978 with I Still Miss Someone, which was originally recorded by Johnny in the year 1958. When Willie mixed in to make a duet, it took it to greater emotional depth. Their voices, Willie's calm, conversational tone mixed with Johnny's deep, commanding voice, added something that stood out very beautifully. In 1985, they joined forces once again for The Highwaymen, the title track of the album recorded by the newly formed supergroup with Waylon Jennings and Chris Christopherson, which told the story of reincarnation through different lifetimes, with each member of the group singing a different verse. It was a #1 country hit, clocking in at the top slot, and is ever one of the signature outlaw country songs. Their other notable collaborations include Ghost Riders in the Sky, a powerful and haunting track that played on their strengths in storytelling. Funny How Time Slips Away, a heartbreaking song about lost love reflecting on the passage of time. Folsom, Prison, Blues, performed live. Willie used to perform Folsom Prison Blues in honor of Johnny, paying tribute to his friend's ability to connect to those who felt forgotten. These songs were more than just chart hits. They told true stories, and this is something that both artists had perfected. There was beauty in their partnership, not just in the studio, but in the electrifying energy they brought to their live performances, witnessed by fans from far and wide. Probably, the most mythical kind of night in their joint performance was the Highwaymen live show in 1990 at the Nassau Coliseum. Standing there side by side on stage, they were laboring not just for music, but for history itself. The concert saw performances of Highwaymen, Big River, Always on My Mind, and lots of other crowd favorites. The concert tours with other members of the Highwaymen brought them all over the world, including Farm Aid concerts to support American farmers, the Montreux Jazz Festival, where they were global emissaries of outlaw country music, and the Ramon Auditorium, where they shared the stage with the legends that had come before them. Even in their later years, the duo never lost their love for entertainment. They joined hands again in 1997 for a tribute concert on Willie's 60th birthday, where they performed songs spanning their careers, which had lasted for decades. Although solo careers for Johnny and Willie were remarkable by themselves, both men's collaborations led to some of the most treasured honors in country music. The Highwaymen album hit the #1 spot on the Billboard Top Country Albums chart in 1985 and went platinum. Their song Highwayman took home the award for Single of the Year at the Country Music Association Awards. Then, both artists went on to be inducted, in 1980, into the Country Music Hall of Fame, Johnny and Willie in 1993. Willie's award with the Kennedy Center Honors took place in 1998, while Johnny received the honor in 1996. They really proved that success did not come from conforming to Nashville's template, but rather from being authentic, from being lifting and pulling, from the heart. In later years, as their careers aged, Willie and Johnny continued to share moments together, beginning performances in health struggles. Afflicted with his health, one of the most stirring moments in their friendship happened in 2002, just about a year before Johnny passed away. But despite Johnny's failing health, he took the stage at the Carter family fold for what would be his last live performance. Hurt, a song hauntingly raw that seemed to sum up his entire life journey, was sung. Willie watched from afar and later recalled that performance as one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. Even though he died in 2003, Johnny made sure that people would not forget him in the years to follow. Willie continued to perform Johnny's songs, tell about their friendship during interviews, and pay tribute to his friend in concerts. Today, their music continues to inspire new generations. From country to folk to rock, artists from all over the world have cited Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash as inspirations. And as long as country music exists, their legacy as friends, collaborators, and legends will never fade. For Willie Nelson, as long as he has breath in his lungs and music in his heart, he will keep telling Johnny's story. What do you think about Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash? Do you think they really made history in country music? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You'll enjoy it.